welcome Colin Dempsey.
Hello, my name is Colin, and before I start the story, I should really just tell you that I suffer with a thing called night terrors, and not so much now, but mostly when I was younger. I don't know if that's a medical term. It's not really terrifying for me, it's terrifying whoever I'm in bed with or in the room with. Generally it involves me waking up in the middle of the night and screaming. I don't remember any of it. It comes in various shades. Sometimes I can wake up and just walk to the window like Paranormal Activity and stare at it for about half an hour, and that really freaks people out. Sometimes I'll bolt up right in bed and just point to something that's not there, and like this. My wife loves that one. Mostly it's just screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming. So I just wanted to let you know about that. It's brought on by stress, being in a combative atmosphere, being around competitive people, traveling, just having a mind full of worries. It sets it off, you know. So we'll get back to that later. I was about 10 years ago. I took a year off with my girlfriend and Tana, and we were traveling around the world, backpacking and stuff. And we've been together for 5 years at this point. And the cracks are really starting to show, because you really know if you should be with somebody after you slept in hostels every night for a year. And we're standing outside this bar at the bottom end of New Zealand, and she's crying, and she's punching me in the chest like this, you know, she's having a total meltdown. And she's like, everybody hates me, nobody loves me, everybody hates me. And I'm trying to calm her. That's not true, Tom. You're loved. Don't worry about it. We're in my head. I was going, I don't know who pissed you off, but you probably pissed them off first because you're rash, you're competitive, you're hyper-competitive, you're the snob. She's very, very kind of, mostly she was a very hyper-competitive person to the point where she was almost psychotic. Everything was a competition, and the world boiled down to winners and losers. And the only thing she hated worse than losing was seeing other people win. She couldn't just win something, she had to crush them, you know? Now on the other hand, she was also, I love this girl, I was with her for 5 years, so she wasn't like a bad person, it was just a little thing she had. And what happened was, I'm trying to be fair, she's an ex, so I said that. We were on this bus going down through New Zealand, and there were 6 girls, Asian girls, on the bus. 4 or 5 were from Japan, and the other 1 or 2 were California, Asian American, Japanese American. And the one thing I realised about Americans abroad is there are 2 types of Americans I've met abroad. Ones that go around very loudly proclaiming that they're American, and Americans that very quietly sew Canadian flags on their backpacks. But I've always found the former vastly more entertaining and fun to deal with, and I've always had more in common with the latter. These girls were Californian, and I'd never met people from California before, so we'll talk about that later. But what happened was, we're in the bar, Tona was at the bar. Now these girls were beautiful, tall, thin. They had everything like in a magazine that should make a woman beautiful. Tall, thin, tiny pointy boobs, tiny bums, high heels, clothes that were lovely, porcelain face, glossy lips, long hair. I found them ugly because they were far less than some of the parts. They weren't very nice people, very rich, they treat everybody really bad on the tour. But meatheads loved them. And Tona got elbowed off the bar. The Asian girls, I'm not going to keep calling them Asian girls because we call them the co-hangers because every day they wore a different set of clothes. So the co-hangers got served first, and that just made Tona mad because she was losing. The co-hangers were winning, Tona was losing. So I try to console Tona outside his bar, and the co-hangers walk out, you know, the hair and the perfume and everything else, and they shoot at his death look like 2 stray cats do in an alleyway. And there's something weird going on, something between them and her, and I knew I'd never to get involved in that kind of thing, just like I've never tried to build IKEA furniture on a staircase. There's something very, I don't know, I kind of probably could fix this, but I'm not even going to try. It looks very complicated. To make things worse, I kind of put my arm around Tona and just let them like, she's on me, so whatever is going on there, you better knock it off, you know. It's all done with looks. The only thing was, I was dressed as a woman because we were at a fancy dress costume party. And Tona was dressed as a sumo wrestler. Because she's very competitive and it was a fancy dress competition and she wanted to win. Because she wanted to win the prize, I don't know what it was. And I wanted to win, even though I'm not competitive, because she always won everything. She's a competitive tennis player, and I just wanted to win one thing. So I dumpster dove and I found a dress, a nice floral dress, and I put her makeup on, and I looked like a really horrible transvestite. But I was going to win this. Turned out none of us did. So we're back at the hostel anyway, and I just knew I had to deal with her the next day, and we're both very hungover, she had to deal with me. The next day we get on the bus, and we just drive to the next town. And the co-hangers are at the front of the bus, and we're at the back, and Tona's like, you know, just, you know, they're looking at me, they're saying weird things and stuff. I'm just knock it off, but seriously. I want to dance to that music, is that weird? Don't do it, you can't dance, you're Irish, you can't dance. So we're on the bus anyway, and the people on the bus broke into three groups. There were like the Americans, the Canadians, the Germans, the Scandinavians, Irish, English, and Scottish. Then there was another group which were Alaskans and French people, and then there were Californians. One of those groups was a lot of fun. Now there was the thing about the California thing. There was a girl called Jenny on the bus who I had a huge crush on. She was in the LAPD. She was from California. I totally loved this girl. I just every time I wasn't around Jenny, I just thought of things to say to Jenny that would impress her. And any time I was around her, I just never said anything. I just listened to her constantly. And when Tona was having her little meltdowns and stuff, our relationship was already set to break apart at this point. And I'd go to Jenny and talk to her and stuff. So Jenny was kind of cool, and she helped me out, helps me out a little bit later in the story. So anyway, you get to the hostel, and everybody gets off the bus, and this is what happens when you backpack. You go in, you give your passport to the counter, and they assign you your rooms. So me and Tona go back to our room, we're sitting down, or unpacking, and I hear these very expensive luggage being drawn down the hallway, and the flip-flap of high heels and the jangle of jewellery, and I can smell the expensive perfume before the co-hangers walk in, and I'm like, shit. And the alpha co-hanger, the alpha girl, who spoke English, sticks her head in and looks around with disgust on her face, because nothing was good enough for these girls. And she had a look on her face like pretty much I would imagine the first American GI who liberated Auschwitz had on his face. Like, the fucking depravity. Now, no hostel was good enough for this girl, you know? So she looks around, she sees me, and I felt insulted because I was part of the room, you know? And she looks at me, and then she looks at Tona's in the book bed above me, you know? And they do this kind of exchange of looks. And Tona doesn't like them, they don't like Tona, I'm in the middle, I just want everybody to be friends, and I'm getting really stressed and anxious. So they go over to the corner of the room, all six of them file in, Tona's silent, I'm sitting on the bed, and something happens. They all start talking in Japanese to each other. And eventually, one girl who speaks English says, I'll take care of this, okay? I'll say it to his face. I will say it to his face. I will take care of this. And she walks right up to me. I've never experienced rudeness like this in my life. And she bends down, right, she was beautiful. I remember, she smelled lovely, she was gorgeous. But she was a bitch. And she looked right in my face. And she goes, excuse me, but the next time you use the toilet, like the restroom, make sure you leave the toilet seat down, okay? I'd never been asked to do that before. I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, the only thing I could think of was like, okay. And she walks back to her friends and she's like, I told him, I said it to his face. I just went up there and I said it to his face. And then they all looked back at me like they had stolen my kidneys in my sleep. Tona's head appears in the bunk and she's just staring at me, and I knew what she was thinking. You let them win again. Is that seriously? And I played in bands for years back home, and I was used to dealing with hecklers, and I always had something to come back with. Even I could have got a gold medal for arguing with my mother and my father in my teens. I was just argumentative all the time. I couldn't think of one comeback for this girl. I was just like, really? I've never experienced rudeness like that before. You don't even know me. Leave the toilet seat down. So she was pissed off and says, you know, let's just go for a hike. So there's a volcano that had never erupted for hundreds of years, filled up with water. Now it's a lake. Everybody was boating on it. We went to go hiking. And sure enough, Jenny is on the hike as well. And Tona's competing with some other girl now at this point, and she's like, you know. And I was like, I just walked up to Jenny and I'm just chatting to her. And she was in the LAPD, and I always had this notion that, you know, I could see her jumping out of helicopters and explosions and shooting like Mexican drug cartels. But the more I got to know her, I think she just handed out tickets to cars and Boulevard where B-list actors bought overpriced handbags. But she was great, you know, she was always very funny. And I told her what happened, and she stopped dead in her tracks and she goes, that fucking bitch. She goes, this is what you should have said. She goes, you should have said to her, and the next time you use the toilet, you make sure you leave the toilet seat up. And I was like, genius. That is so good. That's the zinger. That's a better than a Mitt Romney zinger. That's an amazing zinger. I could debate anyone now with those zingers. So I says, you know what, I'm going to go back, and I don't know it's late what I'm going to say to the Asian girl when I go back to cover. I'm going to say it. I don't care if it's an hour, 2 hours late, 3 hours late. Tona wanted to go for dinner and walk around and basically judge the place and compete with more people. And it was a mental illness because this girl had. So by the time I get back to the hostel, I burst into the hostel and I go down to a room and I just want to say to them, and I go in and they're asleep. I was like, shit, nobody's there. And the soulless, lifeless mannequins was on the bed and they have all their shoes in their head, some kind of glittery stuff and bag and like it's all neat and tidy and they're rich and spoiled little brats and stuff, and I'm just like, a good singer, you know. So I went to bed anyway, and went to bed, not wet the bed. I know that's happened before. Yeah, I went to bed. You went to bed? No, I went to bed. So I got to bed anyway, and I'm stressed, and there's a combative atmosphere, and there's I've been travelling, I have a mind full of worries, and I'm thinking of Jenny, and I'm thinking of the volcano. And I fall asleep, and it's the last thing I remember. What happens next, I have no recollection of. 4 o'clock in the morning, there is screaming. Tana wakes up with screaming, and she has a torch under her pillow, and she points into the darkness, and there am I, in just my underpants, in the middle of the room, screaming. At my left hand. Ah! And then I turn to my right hand. Ah! And then I look at both hands, and I'm like, no! And I'm screaming for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and it's just not stopping. And more spotlights are going on me, and people have cell phones, and the whole hospital's waking up. And I'm like, ah! She gets out of bed, grabs me, and I immediately stop, and she goes, come on, baby, she puts me to bed and stuff. And as soon as my head hits the pillow, I fall asleep. I wake up the next morning, as I often do after a night terror, not knowing I've had one. My ears are ringing from myself, I have a headache, my hands are sore, my teeth are sore, and my voice is very hoarse from shouting, but I don't know why. So I think it's a cold or a flu I picked up from yesterday's hike. And I'm sitting on, and the first thing is like the Asian girls, the co-hangers, I've got to get them with the zinger, and I look up, and they're already packed and ready to leave. And I was like, this is a bit early. So I says, I'll say to them now. So I get up and I put trousers on, and I walk up to the front girl, and my voice is fucked from screaming. And what I hear is pretty much the devil with a head cold. It's like, excuse me. The next time you use the bathroom, you make sure the toilet seat is left up. Okay. That flu. It's so good. I've never seen people leave a building so quickly. With luggage and everything. And apparently they went down, they tried to get a different room. They said, we can't get another room. So they sat in the foyer till the bus came. I had a shower, I lay in my bed, just thinking of Jenny, and Tana woke up, had a shower, and everyone was just giving me weird looks. And I was like, oh, something weird going on here, you know. So did I frighten the girls too much or something? I don't want to be a bully, you know. And so Tana goes, we need to talk. And she brought me to a cafe, and the cafe had this huge window, and outside the bus pulled up, and people were packing. And she told me what happened, and every nugget, and you were underpants, and you were screaming with your hands, and those girls were terrified, and everyone woke up. Every time she said something, I'd see someone else from the tour bus go up and put bags, and they'd look in the window at me, and I'm just like, oh. And then Jenny walks past, and she just gives me this look like, and she gets on the bus anyway. So we're last, and I'm just so embarrassed. I get on the bus, and it's just this long walk to the back. There's a seat at the very end. And the Asian girls are just a mixture of terror and just absolute revulsion on me. And everyone else is just like, that fucking Irish douchebag, there he is. And everyone's tired and kind of falling asleep. And it's the longest walk of my life. And I hear people, as soon as I pass them, whisper, it's fucking underpants. And I get to the back, and we're sitting there, and Tana is like, everybody hates me. Because she's competitive. Everybody hates me. And I'm like, no. No. No, they hate me a lot more than they hate you. And that really pissed her off, because that meant I was winning. I was winning at losing, and that's the worst type of winner. I made her the worst type of loser. And she didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. Thank you.